Hi, so Teresa here again, and in this video we're going to look at the very important concept of exposure. So exposure is one of the most essential concepts in security management and an important indicator of how probable it is that a threat eventually materializes. It's usually, for a lot of threats, a question of time when there is exposure. There are many international staff, for example, who have done a 6-month mission and never experienced a potentially dangerous or dangerous incident. There are very few national staff who haven't. The reason? Exposure. One thing is to travel a dangerous route once a week for 6 months. Another thing is to travel it for 2 years or even more, as is the case of national staff. It's considered that international staff in some places, particularly white Western international staff, are of higher threat target value than national staff or international non-white staff. This particularly since kidnappings evolved. There's a flip side to this though. It used to be considered that if a white Western national staff was in a car, for example, the likelihood of an attack would drop, or at least the level of violence of the attack, if there was one. But the rising of the kidnapping risk made it the opposite, and many white Western international staff have been replaced with, in theory, less attractive profiles to kidnappers in many places, either for ideological reasons or for monetary reasons. This could be called security pragmatics, or it could be called something else. Either way, in my view, it should be revised. But that's another discussion. The other thing about exposure to a threat or threats is that it is used in the famous equation of risk versus impact for decision making. The logic of this as a decision making tool is that we expose some team members to high threat levels because the thinking is that the humanitarian action that we're going to deliver outweighs the potentially harmful consequences for the team if the threat materializes, the risk impact equation. This is interesting because it's not something, in my view, that's analyzed well enough or accompanied by additional mitigation measures or increased training of the exposed teams. It's more like, okay, let's send that team there because if not, that population will have a lot of mortality. So let's send our best people and stay alert on the radio, on the sat phones, etc. That's kind of what we do. But if you raise the stakes, raise the analysis, and improve preparedness of the threat happening, that's not usually what we do. Risk versus impact should never be used just to justify taking higher risks without a higher level of preparation, right? So that should be a rule of thumb. If you're going to raise the stakes, raise the analysis and also raise the level of preparation of your teams for that particular scenario. A higher level of alert is not the same as deeper analysis or better preparation of strong mitigation measures. Yes, you may say, but there's not always time. I say there is. There should be. In your scenario planning, this should be something planned for. It can't come out of the blue. Again, we come back to what if, then.